Welcome back to the channel. We're back on our Spider-Man Commander deck profile. Today with Lizard, Connor's Curse. For 2 and 2 green, you get a 5/5 with Trample, where 1 Lizard, Connor's Curse. Interesting how I didn't just put Lizard. Enters up to 1 target creature, loses all abilities, and becomes a green lizard with base power and toughness 4/4. So this helps us play a little bit of stacks in green. Green isn't a color you really associate with stacks too often, but you could do just that, making all of your opponent's creatures into lizards, perfecting the lizard's master plan here that he's trying to do of making everyone into a lizard, making so our opponents can't untap their lands in order to stop us from doing that, making sure we can untap all of our lands so that we have ways to do that, or just have enough lands to be able to get over all those extra casting costs. Because we're in green, we may as well ramp up a whole bunch in order to do just that. Overall, seems like it's a very fun commander. Let's get into it card by card. Starting us off with Blade of Cells in order to give Lizard Miriam. It's helpful to have extra copies of Lizard on the battlefield so that we can make everything into a Lizard in an additional time. Or 2 additional times. The other Lizards do go away, but his ability doesn't last until a Lizard leaves the battlefield, thankfully. So, we like to see it. Conjurer's Closet, another way to blink Lizard, so that we could make more things into lizards. Nothing escapes being a lizard, because we want lizard, lizard, lizard. Helmet of Host, another way to get a second copy of Lizard onto the battlefield. Another way to make more things into lizards, and this is our second copy of Lizard. Mycosynth Lattice, in order to make everything into an artifact. Sometimes maybe we have some things that prevent artifacts from doing things later down the line, as you'll see in just a few bits. Panharmonicon, in order to double up the number of lizards we're making the turn that lizard comes down, so that we could lizard their lizards. Smokestack, at the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a soot counter onto this card, and at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices a permanent for each soot counter on Smokestack. We're going to ideally have enough permanents to keep on sacrificing, and our opponents may just have to sacrifice their lizards. Overall, if we just want to have this on the table for 1 turn, every person has to sacrifice 1 creature, that's not the worst. Soul Ring for some additional mana. Sphere of Resistance. All spells cost an additional 1 mana to play. We have plenty of ways to make sure we get plenty of lands onto the battlefield, so that even if we have to pay an additional mana, it doesn't really affect us too much. Sword of Heart and Home, way to blink one of our creatures and get a basic land onto the battlefield. We want to ramp, we want to blink our lizard to get more lizards. So this does just that, giving us a little bit of protection as well while we're at it. Great Henge, normally we're going to have something with power 5, maybe we'll have something 4. I think we have some things with 7. So you can, in theory, cast this for 2, and it adds 2 mana and gaining 2 life. Getting some additional draw power and some additional counters to swing on your opponents with, because your things are going to be bigger than their lizards. During the Animus, non-creature spells cost 1 more to play. Once again, doesn't affect us too much, affects our opponents a whole bunch. Vexing Bauble, whenever a player casts a spell, if no mana is spent to cast it, counter that spell. Getting rid of those Cascade decks, getting rid of those Cast from Exile for free decks, all the type of stuff that they normally have fun with. Now they're not, because you like lizards. Weathered Runestone, non-land permanent cards in graveyards and libraries can enter the battlefield, shutting off our opponent's graveyard decks, and players can't cast spells from there either, also shutting off top of the deck synergies. Because we don't have them, we don't need them. Winter Moon, players can untap more than 1 non-basic land during their untap step. We're in mono green, we have forests, and maybe we do have like 1 non-basic land that we want to untap in here. So doesn't affect us too much, but our opponents who are playing more non-basic lands, that does affect them a lot. Then and we have Winter Orb, as long as it's untapped, players can tap more than 1 land during their untap steps, but we're getting lands upon lands to get them onto the board for free in theory, so we like to see it. On to our creatures, which we have a lot of. We have Apex Devastator. This way, when it enters, we get to Cascade, 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 Cascade. Another creature we just like to blink. This way, oh sorry, when you cast a spell, exile cards. I thought this was when this creature enters. Okay, may have read this card wrong. But anyway, still getting 4 things off the top of your deck for free that you don't have to pay mana for, especially when we're increasing the cost of things could be really helpful for us, especially Cascade for 10. For 8 mana, we have Archetype of Endurance for 6/5. Creatures you control have Hexproof, meaning our opponent can't target our stuff to remove our stuff. And creatures your opponent controls lose Hexproof and can't gain Hexproof, meaning we can still target their stuff. Avenger Zendikar, another creature we want to see enter a whole bunch. We're going to put Blade of Cells or Conjurer's Closet on Panharmonicon, benefits a whole bunch. But yeah, getting us some additional plant tokens, which means we have guards up, and then when we play our lands, they get even stronger. We just swing on our opponent for game. They can only block with a lizard. Collector Yuffie, I think that's how you pronounce it. Activate abilities of artifacts can't be activated. So if we make everything into an artifact with Mycosynth Lattice plus this card, that means that not only can they not activate the abilities of their lands to tap for mana, they can't activate anything's abilities. That's right. So it doesn't specify that you can't, unless it's a mana ability. Like, it doesn't say that line on there. Lighted Halfling, and also it's only your opponents, not yourself. Oh no, activate abilities of artifacts can't be activated. So it's you as well. Never mind. Lighted Halfling for some additional mana. Elvish Mystic for some additional mana. Eternal Witness, another creature we want to have blinked. This way we can get our Winter Moon or our Winter Orb back. Probably just our Winter Moon. We like better. But yeah, we want to get those back, and we keep on blinking this creature so that we can keep on getting them back. Galta, Stampede Tyrant, another creature we want to blink. This way, when it enters, we get to put all of our creatures from our hand onto the battlefield. We have 29 creatures in general, so just getting them onto the battlefield will help to stack out a whole bunch. Goreclaw, Tower of Kalsanai. Lizard himself has power 5, so it allows us a little bit of cost reduction, and giving our other creatures trample and a little bit of stat boost, so that we could swing over those lizards. Heartwood Storyteller. Whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, each of that player's opponents may draw a card, allowing us a little bit of draw power, taxing our opponents for playing their cards. Ichneumon Druid does 4 damage to any opponent casting an instant. Doesn't apply for a first instant cast by opponent in each turn, so they would have to cast 2. But like, if they're trying to counter our stuff, they're going to have to pay for it. Karn, Great Creator, another way to shut off our opponents. This is one that shuts off our opponent's artifacts. This way they can't get their soul rings, they can't get their arcane signets. This way, even if they if we can make everything into an artifact, we could shut off their lands as well. And just some other fun abilities here. Kodama to East Tree, whenever another permanent you control enters, doesn't care about being cast. If it wasn't put onto the battlefield with this ability, get something cheaper onto the battlefield. So if we blink one of our creatures with Sword of Heartenhome, that allows us to get some more free creatures. Kogla, the Titanape, a way to return our humans to our hand, but that's not the ability we care about. We want to blink this creature so it could fight another creature, and when it does attack, we get to remove some stuff. Llanowar Elves for a mana dork. We want plenty of mana dorks in this deck, especially if we're not able to untap lands. We want to make sure we still have some mana to use. Manglehorn enters battlefield, destroy target artifact, get rid of those soul rings, keep on blinking it, keep getting rid of them, and artifacts your opponent's control enter the battlefield tapped, meaning that we could potentially make everything enter tapped if we have the Mycosynth Lattice on the board. Mistbreath Elder, another way to bounce, this is say Connors, but it's just Lizard. It's not Connors in there anymore. But yeah, blinking Lizard back to our hand. This way we get that ability. I'm surprised they didn't actually make what's it called? Speaking of Connors, they didn't make like a card similar to like Norman Osborn for Kirk Connors, given how like often he transforms back and forth. Nyxbloom Ancient, 7 mana for a 5/5. Trample, if you tap a permanent for mana, versus 3 times that much. Especially if we're only untapping 1 land a turn, we may as well get a lot of mana off of it. Reclamation Sage, another creature we like to blink. This way we could keep on removing our opponent's artifacts and enchantments, which is potentially everything. If we have Mycosynth Lattice. Roaming Drone, a way to double up our lizard's activated abilities when he enters. Because everyone's a lizard, not just some things, everything. Seedborn Muse, untap all permanents you control during each other player's untap step. We don't want to just be untapping during our turn, we want to do it during our opponent's turn as well, and also helps us getting around some of the stuff that prevents us from untapping. Zavala, especially because Winter Orb says during their untap step, not just during any untap step. Savala, Heart of the Wild for a little bit of draw power and a whole bunch of mana. Silverback Elder, another creature that likes to see things blinked. Well, him it's whenever you cast a creature spell, choose one. But still, some good abilities that we're getting off of it. Soulless Jailer, another piece of stacks that we have in here. Permanent cards in graveyards can't enter the battlefield, and players can't cast non-creature spells from graveyard or exile, shutting off those graveyard decks. Spider-Man, Brooklyn Visionary, allowing us that web slinging ability. I may have missed some, but I think he's the only mono green web slinging one, which will allow us to bounce a lizard back to our hand, and so we can cast lizard again in order to get that ability. Temur Sabertooth, another way to bounce lizard back to our hand, so we can cast it again and get that ability again. Terastodon enters battlefield, destroy up to 3 target permanents, and give our opponent some elephants. They wanted those 4/4 lizards. They're no longer 4/4 lizards. They're just 3/3 elephants. Vorinclex, Voice of Hunger. When an opponent taps a land for mana, that land doesn't untap during that controller's next untap step. So once again, preventing our opponent from playing the game in the first place, while we have all this mana to do all the things we want. And what else? Another creature we like to blink to keep on getting lands. Oop. And then for our draw power, we have Hunter's Insight, in order to have a good source of removal there. Why is this? Huh, that's weird. These are instants, but they're over here. Those go over there. And those are enchantments for some reason. But for our enchantments, we have Guardian Project for a little bit of draw power. Anytime one of our creatures enters, which is happening a lot, that also enters, doesn't care about cast. Kendra's Transformation. When we can't make something into a lizard, we can make it into an elk. Also, you could run a Shadow Spear in here in order to get around those hexproof creatures. Root Maze, artifacts and lands come to play tapped, making it even harder for our opponents to play their stuff. Sylvan Library, another way to get a little bit of draw power, paying some life, but our opponent can't attack us anyway, so who cares? Vorinclex, another creature we like to see enter, so we get those 4s. Also has a backside that we don't use too often. And then for our second half of the deck, we have Beast Within for some removal, Bite Down for some removal, Hero Convention for some protection, especially when they're trying to Vandal Blast all of our artifacts that are preventing them from playing the game. Hunter's Insight for a good source of removal, Connie Ambush, some more removal, also a land. Ram Drew for some more removal, Return of the Wild Speaker for some really good draw power, Lizard's no longer a human, so we get to draw the 5 cards. Turn to Nature for some removal, and Tyvar Stand for some protection. You could run Yavimaya, all the really good lands, Gaia's Cradle, but we'll just put a lot of basic lands in this one. Cultivate for some mana, Farseek for some lands, Cold Ounce Reach for some land, Life of the Loam for some extra lands from our graveyard, especially if we have ways to get rid of them. Rampant Growth, and Reva's both for mana as well, and Rishkar's Expertise, another way to get a free spell onto our board while drawing some cards. Overall, I think Lizard's going to be a really fun commander. I wouldn't say he's a good commander. Is he going to be a fun commander? Yes, very much so. But overall, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you like the video. If you want to see more like this, comment, subscribe, so you stay tuned for future videos. Thanks so much. Have a great day.